So we were pregnant with two twin boys, and at 28 weeks, my wife had an emergency C-section, and we found out at that point that one of our sons passed away, and one was rushed into the NICU, and ever since then we've dealt with having one child living and one child passing away. So it's just been a struggle, at that point in that time, going through all this, knowing that, looking at one and knowing that the other one wasn't there. And as you see, he's doing well now. But it was a really hard time in the beginning, because he was in the NICU. We didn't know what was going on, and my wife was still recovering from surgery, and everything was okay with him, but he had some issues with his intestines. So the first week of life, he had a major abdominal surgery, because there was a little kink in his intestines. The first week, 2 weeks were just literally a blur. Couldn't function, couldn't do anything. Just basic functioning, just living at the hospital. And then 2 weeks into it, then he had another surgery for the same issues in his abdomen.
That first, few weeks was a blur. I mean, the first few days, I think, was just, I think I was just kind of numb. I mean, I didn't, I was very mixed emotions. I mean, here we, had to have emergency C-section, and we lost one child, but then, one child was, rushed into NICU, and he was alive, and he was doing okay, but at the same time, we kind of had to focus all of our attention, on Rohan and his time in the, in the ICN, and we really didn't have that time to mourn for our other child, as, I'm sure most, parents would in that situation. So, but we had to do what we had to do, and we had to focus on him, and I wish we had that time to, to mourn for our child together, but unfortunately, we just, I think we mourned in our own way, but we weren't able to mourn as I think, I'm not saying, a normal couple would, but just, going through that mourning process, we weren't able to really do that.
How I dealt with it, with that loss, was I just shut myself off from enjoying anything. When I would drive, I would leave the radio off. I felt as if I would enjoy that little bit, how can I enjoy when my wife and my son were in the hospital, and in that mourning process of our other son?
He actually was in the ICN for about almost 4 months.
Mm-hmm. About 111 days.
Yes, 4 months. As every day was just, it was ups and downs. I mean, there was some days that, he was doing okay, and then there's some days, he wasn't doing so okay, and it's a roller coaster. I mean, just ups and downs, and every day was, I know I found support and help, and we met, other parents that were going through, that actually went through very similar situations as we did. And so that helped, knowing that someone else knew exactly kind of what you were going through. But at the same time, I know for me it was hard to see, twin babies in the ICN while we were there. And there was a lot of times where there was twin babies in the same room as Rohan, and, that was hard, because just thinking of, well, that should have been us, having both of our babies at least in the ICN. Not that you want your children to be in the ICN, but at least if, both of them were in there, then they would be with us and both be okay. So that was, kind of what I was going through while we were there.
we found a lot of support with other family members. Just even if it wasn't the same scenario, you were just going through the ICN together. That little support, just being there, saying hello, just as someone to lean on, and just the struggles of everyday life there, because that's what it was. You were living there, and then also what I found beneficial was the staff at Duke. They were very comforting, and they became our second family, there, because they were with us day in, day out. We called them 24 hours a day. They took care of our son when we weren't there. That guilt of not being there at night because we couldn't, unfortunately, stay there. And they were the ones that were taking care of him when we weren't there. So we built that relationship of, that caring and that trust in them. And they helped us out a lot.
Obviously very joyful, very happy that, he was going to be coming home and he was healthy, doing okay. And, I mean, that was the most important part because of everything that he did go through while he was in the ICN. But at the same time, I think we were just a little anxious as well. And I know I was a little nervous because, he was in the ICN for almost 4 months and he was constantly monitored. I was very nervous on, if he was going to come home, there was no machines or no nurses around to help us.
I got used to those beeps.
We really got used to, kind of those, and we would literally sit there and focus on those machines, and going home, that, the machines weren't coming home with us, and neither were the nurses, So, but at the same time, it was just, finally okay, he's coming home with us. I felt like, okay, we can finally be
a normal family,
a normal, parent to our child, versus coming to a hospital every day and having to wash our hands and wear a gown and, that's just having to bring him home and we don't have to do all those things, anymore. And just be a normal, parents that bring home their newborn child.
But it was that, I don't know, I also had that fear of, of what do we do now? Because, the nursing staff, medical staff were taking care of them, and now we're just us. We were able to do it like every other new parent. But the medical staff also, were very open and caring about us, that, we can call anytime if we had any questions or concerns about his development or any issues with him coming home with us. So that was a little bit more relieving in my mind, saying, hey, we still do have that support even though we're not at the hospital.
When we did celebrate his first birthday, obviously it was a great day because, it's his first birthday. He, his first year, he came a really long way, and that was, a proud moment for both of us. But at the same time, we should have been celebrating, 2 boys, both of our sons' birthday. And, it's a little, I don't know what the right word would be, but you're kind of happy and sad in the same moment, or the same, it's just, we'll never forget that, he was a twin. And I don't know, it's just, sometimes I kind of feel guilty on feeling happy, but then, I think we have to let ourselves, also remember that we did have another son, and, Rohan did have a twin, and, I don't know, just kind of, I think mixed emotions is, I think, what I can call it, and I don't know what else to really, how to describe it.
And I think it's going to happen forever for the rest of our lives. Is any milestone that we come across is going to be like, okay, it's great that we're going through this, but there's also that loss of, hey, he had a brother, so it's not just that it's going to stop. It's going to be there for, unfortunately, forever. but it's also, we also look at it as, look at the achievements that he's made. He's a little miracle. That he fought through all this hard time in the beginning, but now he's doing great.
He's a miracle, and sometimes you're like, okay, yeah, that's very true, and that's how we have to look at it. But we can't forget, and we can't, it doesn't lessen the fact that we did have 2 boys, even though we should be very blessed that we do have Rohan, and he's healthy, healthy as can be, given the fact of everything that he did go through when he was born. So.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I would say is, even though you're going through this difficult time in your life, just take some time each day just to relieve that stress and that pressure. Do something even for a minute or 2, just so you can get back to being able to focus and help your family and just be supportive, just to have those little bits of enjoyment so you can relieve your stress, so you don't just have so much stress and that pressure on you, which can,
And I know it's hard to do because you feel guilty, taking that time for yourself, but at the same time, I think you need that in order then, to be able to focus and your attention to, to your child that is in the ICN, and that does need all of your love and support. And at the same time, I think, as he said, you need to take that time off just to recoup for yourself.